Alright guys, today we are working on the hood of my Jensen GT. We're going to get it prepped for paint and hopefully paint this soon. So let me show you what we're working with. Alright, on the surface this hood looks pretty decent. It's not too shabby, but start looking at it, it's got some nicks and things in it like this, here. But it's mostly pretty good. It feels very straight, but it's just got some, I can barely catch a nail on that. And just got some dirt down here. I gave it a bath earlier, then there's something right here that feels kind of funky. I just now noticed that for the first time. So we've got some small nicks and things like that, but overall this hood is pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and start sanding this and then kind of see how this cuts down. This hood is a fiberglass hood, so we'll see how this turns out. Alright guys, for this project I've got me a random orbital sander. I put an interface pad on here so it'll be a bit, it'll flex a little bit with the hood and I won't concentrate digging all this in one area. And has a dust collector, so hopefully I don't make too big of a mess in here, but let's get started with this. Also, I put 320 grit sandpaper on here. I didn't want to start with anything too rough or anything too fine. I think this is a good starting point for me to kind of see what I'm working with. Now before I started sanding this, I took this outside and I washed it with warm soap or soap and water anyway. That way I could get this clean, give me a good place to start with. If you're painting over anything and it's got dirt or oils or anything like it, it'll cause the paint to fisheye and not turn out so well. So that's the first thing I did before I even started sanding here, was just give this a good bath, and then now I know what I'm starting with. And so far it's looking pretty good. I've got a bit more sanding to go, and then I'll give it a blow off and I'll show you guys how we're looking. Alright, I did a quick round with the random orbital sander, but there's some spots I need to hit, and I need to hit those by hand, like around here, because I don't want to dig too deep into this. And like I went a little quick on that part of the fiberglass hood, but I got a little too deep, I think. So I have a contour block here. Then I'm just going to get all these contours with that. Then I might just honestly do some of this by hand as well, so I make sure I get all of this sanded. And I think after this I'll probably hit it with either 400 and then 600 grit sandpaper, and then we should be almost ready to either prime or paint. We'll see how we're looking. Alright, well now that I've got my hood all sanded, I finished it off with 600 grit and it's got it looking pretty good. I need a place to paint. I don't have access to a paint booth, nor anywhere to really put one, or can I really afford one either. So what I have done is gone to the very beautiful place on the internet known as Temu and ordered a carport. And I'm going to set that carport up in here and we're going to paint. So let's get to opening these boxes and see what happens. Alright, there's your carport. Have fun. This is supposed to be quite big, 13 by 25 feet, and I think it's about 10 feet tall. And yes, that's overkill for a Jensen and painting motorcycle parts in, because that's my goal. But also I want to repaint my wife's car, which is a Suburban. So I just went ahead and bought something big so I can fit her car in there. Alright, now I got to get this open as well, because I'm sure this has some long poles in it, and then start assembling all that in here. Hooray. Alright, those are big. Alright guys, well here's all the parts, and then there's probably the outside covering bit of it. So here's all the parts. I like how this actually came in. This was my first ever Temu experience, and for $271 for this shipped to my door, I think is what it cost. I'm pleasantly surprised. Everything came packaged together. There's the C2s, there's the C1s, here's the Ys, and here is the X's here. Then I separated these by kind of corner bits, intersecting bits, and then whatever these are. And how this assembles is what it looks like. They just kind of pop into place. This should be easier than expected. Famous last words. All right, so far my complaints are on this, that is like that, and that one's flattened out on that side. So I'm gonna have to push this back out and we'll see if that side will fit in a tube or not. Might have to push that out. Other than that, it's been going well. I've been only working for a couple minutes, got that piece together, I got one here together, and just came across this. All right, so I've got all my top shapes built here. And my next step is to do this. So I might have to see if I can't move the Jensen out the way a little bit, make some room for me to work. Things are going to get tight here for just a few. All right, with a little bit of finagling, you can see I've got the roof part of the portable carport, or my ghetto paint booth, assembled. I really had no option here, but I had to rest this part on the car on either side. I got a moving blanket over there, a towel over here, put extra towel and my motorcycle jacket on that side, just in case those would hit, and they have not touched anything at all. So it's just this one part, I kind of had no option. But now I need to put the bottom supports up to lift this up, and I'll be home free here shortly. Yeah, this was a lot of finagling. I had to move my hood over there. That way it wouldn't possibly hurt it over here. It's hasn't been terrible, to be honest with you. All right, so after a few sphincter tightening moments, I've started getting this side up. I've got one there, there, and there. I've got two more supports to fill in there. And then I have to pick up this side and do that side, but it is fully not touching the car finally. So I'm happy about that. Work and all these pieces together get kind of heavy when you're picking up one side by yourself. I am a one-man show here, so I'm doing what I can. All right, well, I have gotten the frame of my improvised paint booth up. The next thing I have to do is get the cover on, attach that, then this will be done. But it's getting late at night and I have to work tomorrow, so I am going to bed and I will finish this up tomorrow. All right, so now I've got the bits of the carport, and I don't know what is what. There's supposed to be, one of them is supposed to be the top. I think one should be the front and back side, and the other should be the right and left side. That's the thinnest, so I'm gonna say that's the front and back side. This looks like it's kind of two pieces here, so I'd say those are the sides, and that's probably going to be the top. The top goes first, so I'll get started on this one. All right, guys, I've got the top of the carport on. Yeah, starting out wasn't the most fun job, but then I kind of found my rhythm, got it on. It would have been easier with 2 or 3 people, but wasn't the end of the world to do. Honestly, it's a thicker material than I thought it would be. Seems like better quality than what I was expecting from Temu. As you can see, it's much darker in here, but I've already got plans for that. I have some old LED lights that I had in my old garage where I used to live, and I have them here right now sitting, I think, in my basement or something like that, and I'm thinking of hanging them up here. Then I also have some other lights I can just kind of put on the side to shine on whatever I'm working on. So that should solve that problem, because once I put the sides and the ends on here, this is going to get dark really quickly. I think I might just do one more side tonight and then call it a night. It's been a long night for me already. All right, guys, well, I've got my ghetto paint booth done. I've added lights to it. Some of these lights I'd sitting around, but yeah, it's my ghetto paint booth. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but it works. And this is honestly quite massive in here. But that's going to be it for today's video. All right, guys, well, that's it for today's video. I'm just kind of got my hood ready to go. I've got a few more things I'm going to prep, and then in the next video, I'll be painting the hood and a few other little odds and ends for the Jensen as well. Here in my little ghetto paint booth, I know it doesn't have a fan or anything like that, but it'll be fine. And before I paint, don't worry, I will wet the floor to keep dust from popping up. Stuff like that, little tricks of the trade I learned back in body school. So, Yeah, this is cool. I'm excited.